Hi, I'm Mike Zumbluskas, and I'm running for Congress here in the 12th Congressional District, which is now the middle of Manhattan, from 14th Street, from river to river, to 98th on the east side, to 112 on the west side. And plus, can't forget good old Roosevelt Island. I always love campaigning there. It's so nice. It's almost like a small little town. But I'm running for Congress because there are serious issues facing this nation that are not being addressed, and especially by Jerry Nadler, my opponent. We have runaway inflation right now that's not being addressed. Matter of fact, the inflation is being caused by the government spending that's happening. You know, Jerry has said, "Oh, I passed the deficit reduction bill," which is actually going to add to the deficit and is adding to inflation. I'm a historian. I don't care whether you're talking about the ancient Roman Empire to Venezuela or to us now. When the government spending gets out of control and they're just throwing money at problems that don't solve the problems, that causes inflation. So every time you go to the supermarket and you see your bill go up by, you know, 20, $30, and you bought the same items as last week, can you just think about this? Eggs last year were selling for about a little over $2 a dozen. Now they're over $5 or $6 a dozen. That's just one item. And that's not actually counted in the CPI. Back in the 80s, the Democrats and Republicans both agreed to this and took out housing, food, energy, gas prices from the inflation numbers. Plus, they also did something else a little bit tricky. They can change the items in the bucket. Before that happened, it would have the exact same items for eons in the basket that they tested. And this was done because at that time in the 80s, inflation was running over 20%. And we are heading towards that. We have to stop spending. Look at the policy. Now, I'm not saying throw everybody under the bus, but there's a lot of bad spending going on in our government. You realize New York City spends $30 billion a year for our K through 12 education system. There's only 67 countries in the world that have a higher national budget than New York City school budget. You think we're spending that money properly when we have one of the worst school systems in the country? You talk to that kid up in Washington Heights or in, East New York, and their schools are falling apart. They're not being taught. This is because of inflation. I work for New York City's Department of Transportation as a resource management analyst for roadways and repairs. That's the people that paves the streets and fills your potholes. With one program, I was able to save the city over $3.5 million a year. It's not, and this is just one program. We could save so much money. We waste things. This is what causes inflation. We spend money, we throw money at problems, and we don't try to solve them. We need to get to the root cause of problems. And just throwing money at them, giving simple answers, is the wrong way to approach things. If we want to kill inflation, which is hurting everybody, especially the lower and middle class, and it's just going to get worse, we need to elect new leadership. And by the way, I blame a lot of Republicans in office too, because they voted for some of this spending also. We need to shrink the size of government, make it more efficient, and realize what we're doing and what we're spending money on. I can do that. I understand economics. I'm also a historian. And so I can bring a unique system to Congress. I've worked in the nonprofit industry, the private industry, and now I work for the government. Plus, I'm a veteran and grew up in the military. So I have a very unique experience. And my opponent, You know what his claim to fame is? He got elected to the state assembly while he was still at Columbia University. He's been an elected official since the late 1960s. And just to give you a little bit of a hint, in 1960s, New York City had over 100 of the Fortune 500 headquarters here. Now we have about 40. And Jerry Nadler's been elected for every single one of those. So just go to my website, electmikez.com, check out my policies. You'll be surprised. We need a change, and I think I'm the change that can actually help this country out. I want practical government, not ideological government.